All right, so welcome everyone to another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be talking about something that I think is really important,
Okay.
and that is pet care advocacy.
Right.
And we're going to be looking at this source. We're going to be kind of going through that and
Yeah.
talking about why it matters,
Right.
even if you don't, have a pet yourself.
Yeah.
So are you ready to kind of jump into that and kind of unlock the secrets to happy and healthy pets?
Absolutely. I think, this is something that we all need to kind of be aware of, especially when it comes to responsible pet ownership
Right.
and how it really impacts not just our own animals, but also, the well-being of the entire, animal population.
Right. And, it's interesting because the source actually says that millions of pets are surrendered to shelters every year.
Hmm.
And the number one reason is because owners just weren't prepared for the responsibility.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So what does it really mean to be prepared, right?
Hmm.
Like, what are those core elements of responsible pet care that every potential owner should know?
Right.
And the 10-minute script kind of lays out this checklist, which I think is a great place to start.
Yeah, it's a fantastic starting point, and I think it really emphasizes that,
Yeah,
this isn't just about, keeping your pet alive.
right.
It's about making sure that they really thrive.
Right, so it's like quality of life versus just
Yeah, exactly. Quality of
for
life.
survival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so first up on the checklist is nutrition,
Right.
which seems pretty basic, but you'd be surprised how many misconceptions are out there.
Oh, you are absolutely right. And I think one of the things that always surprises me is
Yeah.
how many people still think that like table scraps are fine for pets.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just not true.
Right.
What we eat is often very, processed and full of ingredients that can actually be harmful or even toxic to animals.
All right.
Um, chocolate for dogs is like the classic one,
Yeah.
right? Right. But even something as seemingly harmless as onions can be deadly for cats.
Wait, onions? Like, really?
Yeah, onions are very, very dangerous for cats.
Wow.
They contain a compound called N-propyl disulfide,
Okay.
and it damages red blood cells, which can lead to a condition called Heinz body anemia.
Oh, wow.
So it can cause weakness, lethargy, pale gums, and even death if it's not treated promptly.
Gosh, so it's more than just like, don't give them chocolates. Like,
Oh.
there's some serious stuff that we got to be aware of.
Absolutely.
So, how can a pet owner make sure they're choosing the right foods?
Well, I think it really starts with reading labels, understanding your cat's specific needs.
Okay.
Different species, breeds, life stages,
Right.
all require different nutrient profiles.
Okay.
So high quality, species appropriate food is key.
Okay.
And, always consult with your vet if you have any questions.
Right. That's good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next up on the checklist is exercise.
Yes.
And I think, everybody knows that dogs need walks. Right. Right.
But how much exercise does a cat really need?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think, it's important to think about it as not just walks,
Okay.
but physical and mental stimulation.
Right.
Because a bored pet can actually be just as unhappy as a hungry pet.
Oh, okay. That's a good point.
Yeah. So if you think about it, in the wild, animals are constantly moving, hunting, exploring, and we need to try and replicate that,
Right.
as much as possible in a domesticated setting.
So it's not just the how much, but the type of exercise as well.
Exactly.
So a walk in the park might not be enough.
Right. It might not be enough.
So what else can we do?
Well, we need to engage their minds as well.
Okay.
So, things like puzzle feeders,
Oh, yeah.
scent games,
Okay.
agility training. All of those things actually challenge your pet to problem solve, use their natural instincts, and stay mentally sharp.
Oh, I love puzzle feeders. My friend has a dog, and he has one.
Yeah.
And he has to, like, move all these little sliders around
Yeah, they're so fun.
to get the food. And it keeps him busy for, like, ever.
Exactly.
And it's more than just physical exertion.
Right.
It's like a mental workout for them, too.
Totally.
But what about cats, though?
Yeah.
Because they seem pretty content napping most of the day.
Don't be fooled by the napping. Cats are crepuscular,
What does that mean?
meaning that they're most active at dawn and dusk.
Oh, okay.
And they're natural hunters, so we got to provide them with opportunities to, stalk, chase, pounce, and even just, something as simple as a feather wand or a laser pointer can
Right.
provide great mental and physical stimulation for a cat.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, so it's about tapping into those natural instincts.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got nutrition and exercise.
Mm-hmm.
What's next on the checklist?
Yeah,
So even indoor cats need to kind of get their hunt on, huh?
absolutely.
Interesting. All right, well, moving on down our checklist here in this 10-minute script, pet care advocacy. What's next?
Well, this one might seem pretty obvious, but it's often overlooked.
Okay.
Regular vet checkups.
Okay.
Think of it like preventative maintenance for your pet.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but I gotta say, honestly, between shots and checkups and, if something unexpected happens,
Right.
vet bills can get really expensive.
Yeah, it's a valid concern.
What would you say to someone who's struggling with that, with the cost of pet health care?
I mean, there are options out there.
Right.
Some shelters and rescue organizations actually offer low-cost or sliding scale services.
Okay.
You can also look into pet insurance, which can really help offset some of those unexpected costs.
Right.
But ultimately, it comes down to prioritizing your pet's health.
Yeah.
Just like with our own health, preventative care is often cheaper than dealing with a major issue later on.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's an investment
Absolutely.
in their well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got nutrition, exercise, vet visits, what else?
Grooming.
Grooming. Okay.
This is another one that's often seen as purely aesthetic, but it's so much more than that.
Okay. I'll admit, I'm guilty of sometimes letting the grooming slide.
Sure.
Especially with my short-haired dog.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
Well, regular brushing actually helps remove dirt, debris, loose fur, which can prevent matting, skin irritation.
Okay.
It also allows you to kind of check for any lumps or bumps, parasites.
Right.
Plus, did you know that grooming can help with temperature regulation?
Really?
Yeah, brushing helps distribute natural oils, which can help their coat stay in good condition, keep them cool in the summer, warm in the winter.
Wow. Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, and for long-haired breeds especially,
Yeah.
it's really important to prevent those painful mats that can harbor bacteria and lead to infections.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think a lot of people see grooming as a chore, but you're kind of making it sound more like a bonding experience.
It really can be.
Yeah.
A lot of pets enjoy being brushed.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's a great opportunity to, spend some quality time with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we've got nutrition, exercise, vet visits, and grooming.
Mm-hmm.
What's the final piece of the puzzle here?
Mental stimulation.
Okay.
This is often overlooked, but it's so crucial
Okay.
for a pet's well-being.
So we're talking more than just playtime.
Yeah, more than just playtime. Think of it as enrichment activities.
Okay.
Puzzle feeders, scent games, interactive toys, even training sessions.
Right.
All of these things help to keep their minds active and engaged.
Yeah, this makes me think about those puzzle feeders again.
Yeah.
Because it's not just to slow down a fast eater.
Right.
It's like making them work for their food.
Exactly.
Like a mental puzzle.
Exactly.
Kind of replicates what they would do in the wild.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's not just for dogs, right? There's stuff for cats, too.
Yeah, tons of stuff for cats.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so we've tackled that basic checklist, which is great. But what happens when things get a little more complex?
Right.
Like, what if your pet starts having behavioral problems?
Mm-hmm.
The source mentions that that's actually one of the most common reasons for surrender.
Yeah, it is.
But it's often not the pet's fault.
Right.
It's a sign that their needs aren't being met.
Exactly.
So what do you do if, say, your dog starts exhibiting, like, aggression or anxiety?
Well, the first step is always to rule out any underlying medical conditions.
Okay.
Because sometimes what appears to be a behavioral issue can actually be caused by pain or discomfort.
Oh.
So once you've ruled that out, then you start to consider, okay, environmental factors,
Okay.
potential triggers. Is the pet getting enough exercise?
Right.
Enough mental stimulation?
Okay.
Are there any stressors in the environment that could be contributing to the problem?
So it's kind of like a detective game, almost.
It is. It really is.
Figuring out the root cause.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you can work on addressing those underlying causes.
Oh.
And that might involve, changes to the pet's environment, routine, training methods.
Right.
Sometimes working with a professional trainer or behaviorist can be really helpful.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm realizing that responsible pet ownership is a lot more nuanced than I initially thought.
It is. It's a lot more than just loving and caring for your pet.
Yeah.
It's really about understanding their needs
Right.
and being proactive in meeting them.
Yeah. And speaking of which, that brings us to another challenge.
Yes.
And that's overpopulation.
Huge issue.
Yeah, and, it's a big one that our source brings up.
Yeah.
But I think people get tired of hearing the spay and neuter message.
Right.
Like, is there anything else that we can do?
While spaying and neutering is definitely the most effective solution,
Okay.
it's important to understand the broader context because
Hmm.
overpopulation isn't just about too many animals.
Right.
It's about a lack of resources
Right.
and a lack of responsible ownership practices.
So it's kind of multifaceted.
Very much so.
Okay.
So we need to address those root causes, right?
Yeah.
Irresponsible breeding practices, lack of education about pet care,
Yeah.
financial barriers to spaying and neutering.
Okay, so what can we as individuals do about this?
Well, we can start by spaying and neutering our own pets,
Yeah.
but we can also support organizations that offer low-cost spay and neuter programs.
Okay.
We can advocate for stricter regulations on breeding practices, and we can educate others
Right.
about the importance of responsible pet ownership.
So it's about creating that cultural shift
Exactly.
where it's just like the norm.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we've talked about behavioral problems, overpopulation.
Uh-huh.
What's the last kind of big challenge that the source brings up?
Pet safety.
Okay.
It's easy to overlook all the potential dangers
Yeah,
that our furry friends can encounter, both inside and outside the home.
it's true. We get complacent, I think.
We do.
But even harmless things can be dangerous to them, right?
Absolutely. For example, certain houseplants can be toxic to cats and dogs.
Oh, really?
Lilies are a big one for cats.
Wow.
Even a small amount of pollen can cause kidney failure.
Gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah,
See, this is why I need these deep dives.
I know, right?
So many things I don't even know I need to know.
Exactly.
Okay, so besides toxic plants,
Well,
what else? What other dangers should we be aware of?
well, think about common household items that could pose a threat.
Okay.
Cleaning products,
Okay.
medications.
Right.
Even something as simple as a rubber band or a string can be dangerous if they ingest it.
Right. Okay.
So it's all about being mindful and creating that pet-safe environment.
That makes sense. What about outdoors, though? Because that's a
Yeah.
whole other
Right.
can of worms.
Totally different ball game. You've
Yeah.
got things like traffic, other animals, extreme weather, all can be hazards.
Yeah.
So always keep your dog on a leash when you're walking in public areas. Make sure your yard is secure and never, ever leave your pet unattended in a car,
Right. Yeah. Especially not when it's hot.
especially not when it's hot.
Yeah. Okay. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by all these potential dangers.
I know.
What's the best way to approach pet safety without, driving myself crazy?
It's about being proactive, not paranoid.
Okay.
So, do a walkthrough of your home, identify any potential hazards,
Right.
secure dangerous substances, educate yourself about the specific risks in your area.
Okay. All right.
A
So
little bit of prevention goes a long way.
yeah, that feels more manageable.
Yeah.
All right. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the basic checklist to tackling some of the tougher challenges of pet ownership.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how do we go beyond just being responsible owners
Yeah.
to becoming true advocates for pet care?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the real impact comes in, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, there's a difference between, taking care of your own pet
Right.
and then actively trying to, make things better for animals in general.
Absolutely.
So how do we make that leap
yeah.
from personal responsibility to broader advocacy? What does that even look like?
Right. Well, I think this 10-minute script, Pet Care Advocacy, actually gives us a really practical roadmap.
Okay.
And it all starts with education.
Okay.
We've been talking about all these nuances of pet care.
Right.
And honestly, a lot of people just don't know this stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
I think we assume that everybody has the same level of knowledge,
We do.
but they don't.
Right.
So you're saying that just spreading awareness can be a form of advocacy.
Absolutely. Think about it.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't know that onions are toxic to cats,
Right.
how can we expect them to make safe choices?
Yeah, that's true.
So sharing what we've learned,
Yeah.
whether it's with friends, family, even on social media, can have a ripple effect.
Okay, I like that. Education is power.
It is.
But what about taking more concrete action?
Yeah.
Because the source also talks about supporting local shelters.
Yes.
So what are some ways that we can do that effectively?
There are so many options.
Okay.
Volunteering is always a huge help.
Okay.
Shelters are often understaffed,
Right.
rely heavily on volunteers
Yeah.
to walk dogs, socialize cats, even help with administrative tasks.
Yeah. I've been meaning to check out the volunteer opportunities
Yeah.
at my local shelter. It always feels a little intimidating, though.
Oh, sure.
I need some special skills or something.
Right.
Is there anything else I could do if I'm not, ready to commit to, regular volunteering?
Of course.
Okay.
Even small gestures can make a big difference.
Okay.
Donating supplies,
Right.
like food, bedding, toys,
Okay.
always appreciated.
Right.
You can also help by spreading the word about adoptable pets,
Right.
or even fostering an animal in need.
Fostering, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I've always admired people who do that, but it seems like such a huge responsibility.
It is a commitment.
What would you say to someone who's like on the fence about it?
Fostering is a commitment, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
You know, you're providing a temporary loving home
Right.
for an animal who might otherwise be stuck in a shelter,
Right.
and you're freeing up space and resources for the shelter
Oh,
to help more animals.
So it's not just about the individual animal.
Right.
It's about like the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got education, supporting shelters, fostering. What are some other actions we can take?
Well, promoting adoption,
Okay.
you know, there are so many amazing animals in shelters just
Yeah.
waiting for their forever homes.
That's true.
So choosing to adopt
Yeah.
rather than shop from a breeder
Right.
is one of the most impactful things you can do.
Yeah, it's literally saving a life.
It is.
And speaking of saving lives,
Yeah.
the source also emphasizes speaking up.
Yes.
If we see neglect or abuse, that could be tough, though.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for someone who might be hesitant to,
I understand the hesitation.
get involved?
It can feel uncomfortable
Yeah.
or even scary to intervene,
Right.
but it's crucial to remember that animals often can't speak for themselves.
Right.
We have to be their voice.
So even if it's awkward or uncomfortable,
Yeah,
it might be the only way to protect them.
that might be.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here
We have.
in terms of concrete actions we can take.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we should keep in mind?
Well, the source leaves us with a really simple
Okay.
but profound point.
Yeah.
The best way to advocate is by leading by example.
Okay. Yeah.
When we demonstrate responsible pet ownership
Yeah.
in our own lives,
Mm-hmm.
it sends a powerful message.
It's like that saying, actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
So it's not just about what we say, it's about what we do.
Yes.
Yeah. And our own choices and actions
Mm-hmm.
can influence others
Absolutely.
and create that ripple effect.
Yes. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Mm-hmm.
We've explored so much today. The core principles of responsible pet care,
Yeah.
the challenges that we might face,
Mm-hmm.
and the many ways that we can become advocates
Yeah.
for animals, right? So what are some of your final takeaways?
Sure.
For our listeners, what do you hope that they'll remember from this deep dive?
You know, I really hope that listeners will walk away with a sense of empowerment,
Okay?
knowing that they have the power to make a difference
Yeah.
in the lives of animals,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, providing their own pet with the best possible care,
Right.
or taking action to improve the lives of animals in their community.
Right.
Every step counts.
Yeah. It's been an incredibly insightful journey.
It has been.
And I hope our listeners feel inspired to continue learning
Me too.
and growing and advocating for,
Yeah,
the well-being of all creatures.
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us
Thank you for having me.
on this deep dive.